I'm Nick Rule, and this is WashU News. With SU elections just around the corner, transparency has become a hot topic in the student body. To address your concerns, we sat down with current SU President Jordan Finkelstein and the three presidential candidates. All right, hi Jordan, thank you for joining us tonight. I understand that you just got out of the annual SU General Budget meeting.
We did. 11 and a half hours later, and we passed a budget.
Okay, and what differentiates a meeting this big with the meetings you generally have every week? Why is this so important?
Yeah, so this is the most important because this is kind of what sets SU's agenda, I'd say, for the upcoming year. Like, this is the $3 million of the student activities fee that all undergraduate students pay as part of tuition, and this is kind of setting the stage for what's to occur next year.
I understand that right now, at least, you're moving towards a state of being more transparent.
Yep.
As a body. Could you speak more to that?
I think what we did when we were elected a year ago is we really set out to kind of do an audit of how students view Student Union, kind of where they see us, excelling and where we're coming short. And I would say a lot of the feedback that we got from students was a lack of understanding and a lack of transparency about what we do. And I think we've made a lot of, steps in that to improve how students view us and to improve that, students trust us and they have an understanding of the process and that all of our, files and records are available for them, and all of our processes are open to all students. And I think we've made, steps forward in that direction. I still think there remains work to be done, but I would say that, from a year ago to now, I would say we've definitely made great strides in being more transparent. So what's different about what we did this year was, instead of the Vice President of Finance making the decision on his own about where to cut money or where to, allocate money, we left it up to the senators and treasury representatives, who are the elected representatives of the students, to kind of voice their thoughts and voice the students' thoughts as we kind of went through this budget process.
Do you have any words to say to the general student body?
Take student union elections seriously. Run for office or vote in the elections and look critically at each candidate to make sure that you are voting for the student that you want to best represent you, and also for the student that you think is best equipped to make decisions. I think, it's upsetting to me that only 30% usually of students vote in our elections, when I would say 100% of students are affected by the work that Student Union does. So it's very important that students are engaged in the process and that they run and that they vote.
First, we interviewed presidential candidate Kenneth Sng, who is currently the Vice President of Finance for SU. What are SU's priorities in allocating money to student organizations?
I think three principles that we keep in mind whenever we're allocating funding to student groups is to make sure that it's consistent, fair, and transparent.
So what do you see SU doing in the next couple of years? And are there any special challenges that you see moving forward?
I think we've done a lot in terms of improving transparency with the finance structure, in terms of telling student groups this is how money is allocated, these are the rules that we have, and in terms of releasing the general budget 2 weeks ahead of time. This is the first time this has been done in many, many years. Specific itemization breakdowns of the $3.1 million budget has never been released to the student body before it got approved.
How would you say your experiences and your skills as the current SU Vice President of Finance help you succeed as president if you were elected for 2016?
So in the past 3 years, I've been pushing forward. I've been pushing really hard for transparency and engagement. The platform that I ran on last year was accountability, engagement, and transparency. And I think we've done a lot of projects, 8 projects in fact. I ran on 3 platforms. I completed 8 projects by the end of my term. 8 projects to improve accountability, engagement, and transparency to students. And I strongly believe that this gives me the experience to make sure that, as Student Union President, I'll be able to continue pushing forward accountability, engagement, and transparency beyond the financial realm and into the Student Union as a whole.
Second, we interviewed presidential candidate Mike Holtz, who is currently the Vice President of Administration for SU. Fall wild. So are you saying that as president you would want to prevent or undo its cancellation, or moving forward there would be something different for Wild?
I personally, in exec council, was one of the people who spoke up and said that I think we should have had more student input in decisions relating to that. We should have gotten more people on board, and we should have handled it differently than it was handled. Beyond that, there's no way to bring back Fall Wild for next year. It's cut out of the budget, but going forward we have to talk about whether we're going to bring it back the year after that. And I've made it incredibly clear that the year afterwards, in the next general budget, we are bringing back Fall Wild if I'm elected president, period.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the student body?
50 years ago, Student Union was founded on this idea of bailing students out of jail who are protesting for civil rights. That's what we were founded on.
Really?
And today, I think that's very far from what students see in their student union. They see a student union that's, bureaucratic, that has a lot of red tape, and that makes decisions that aren't in line with what students want. And I don't think that's what we should be. I think we need to be an organization that first and foremost advocates for students, that we stand up for students. And that's what, if elected president, I want to do. I want to focus on big issues, have advocacy, be not just transparent as like a buzzword, but actually honest with students about what we're planning, what we're doing, and big decisions we're making.
Okay.
And I think that's what we need to focus on, and that's really the corner of what I'm running on.
Finally, we spoke with presidential candidate Demetrios Kavadas, who is a newcomer to the world of SU. Are you at all concerned about the perceived disparity in experience between you and your opponents for the presidential race?
I am not, because I feel that at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, which is to have a really good and really strong and really effective student body president. And if I'm not the candidate that people think has that based on my experience or lack thereof, I don't want them to pick me, quite frankly. So that being said, however, I do believe that the amount of effort and devotion and time I put into everything that I do and get behind will allow me to prosper once I get into the position. But that being said, again, I don't want people to vote for me if they think that my lack of experience is a problem. Everything that I do and put my name to, I really like to go all out and make sure it's up to where I hold my standard of my own name.
Okay, how specifically would you go all out, and what changes would you make to SU then as its president if you were elected in 2016?
Ultimately, and I know this is not the answer you're looking for and perhaps not the answer anyone's looking for, but I think that it doesn't so much matter what I think needs to be changed. I think it's what everyone else thinks needs to be changed, because it's a community effort, and therefore I would definitely do a lot to find out what people think we're doing, or the student union is doing good, and what the student union is doing poorly. And I would take all that into consideration in terms of determining what needs to be changed and how best to change it.
You've heard the president and you've seen the candidates. If you want to help create a more transparent environment at WashU, cast your vote on March 8th.